stage will now be taken up by Mr. Arpit Jain, who is the CEO at SplashMath, and he'll be talking about building a global edtech company from India. SplashMath's journey on reaching 30 million global users.
Last session of the day, I'm sure that all of you are tired, so I'll try to be quick and finish as soon as possible. So with a quick show of hands, how many of you have started a company or are planning to start a company? Okay, great. So good enough audience for the talk that I'm going to have. So my name is Arpit Jain. I'm co-founder and CEO of SplashMath. SplashMath is a game-based learning program where the whole idea is to make math learning fun and engaging for elementary school children, and also at the same time enable love for learning. We have been talking about love for learning the whole day. SplashMath is one program which enables love for learning in kids. Here's a small video of how the program looks like. The SplashMath is now used by 30 million, so we have more than 30 million registered students globally, more than 350,000 subscribers from more than 100 countries in the world. In US, teachers in more than 70% schools, they use SplashMath on a daily basis. Right? So, but we believe that this is just a start. We have just scratched the surface. There are more than 1 billion kids in the world, and we want to make a change in each and every one of their lives. Also, to get here as well, it took us a lot of time, right? 10 years to be precise. It all started back in college, as most of the good stories start from. So we are 5 co-founders. All of us were in IIT Kharagpur, computer science engineering. And while in final year of our college, we were teaching assistants to first grade classroom. So not first grade classroom, I'm sorry, the first year students, the programming lab. As a part of being the teaching assistants, we had to solve or grade 150 assignments every week. And that was a huge challenge for us because it will take all of our weekends. So we needed to figure out a way on how we can solve that problem. So simple thing, it was a computer science assignment. It was absurd to actually solve it manually. Right? It can be done programmatically. So we sat for a week and we wrote a program to do it automatically. We went to the professor again. He threw us a new problem. He said that some of these students might be cheating and might be copying from each other. Can you please solve that problem for me? Now in that computer lab, there were 70 students. So if I have to check each and every copy with each and every other combination, that's 70 C2 combination, that's almost 2,400 checks, which is almost virtually impossible for me to do every week. Even if I figure out an optimized way of doing it, that who is sitting close to whom and do it, then also it is very difficult for me to do. So next best thing, we sat for a couple of weeks and we wrote a program to do it as well. With time, we realized there were more such problems. And for example, professors were not able to give learning lectures, deliver lectures to students in a best way. They were not able to share assignments with them. They were taking a lot of time in grading the assignments as well. So taking all of these problems together, we created a learning management system. Well and good. By the time we left, almost 5,000 students in IIT Kharagpur were using that LMS on a daily basis. We had more than 50 students who were working with us, and it's easy to hire students in college because you just have to give them a treat. A lot of these professors, they uploaded their courses online, and by the time we graduated, a lot of end-sem exams, mid-sem exams, everything was happening on the Intino system. Another important thing was that a lot of these courses were public, which meant any student from any part of the world can come and access these courses, can access the forums, can be a part of the assignments. It is like, think of MIT courseware, but in a much more structured format. So we believe that we have hit a gold mine, right? With the LMS, the professor's efficiency was improved a lot. So every professor in like our college system would want to have it. With these public courses, like every student would want to learn from these public courses, right? So with this, we kind of thought of dropping out of placements. We convinced our parents somehow that this is going to be the next big thing in the world, and we need to at least give it a shot. So we prepared a business plan, got funding from IIT Kharagpur, and then we went to the market. Now I think all of you know what is next, what is going to come. A lot of you have faced this problem. For the next 1 year, we went to almost 200 colleges in India, and we realized that they had a different problem altogether. So the biggest problem was there was no infrastructure, right? So even if we wanted to deploy the LMS, there were no computers for each and every teacher. There were no computers for students. Teachers did not have much time. They were busy just completing the curriculum and they did not want to use any learning management system. And one of the bigger problem was students were not interested in anything extra if it did not get them good jobs. So they were looking for certification from IIT, but they did not want to learn from the IIT courses, right? So with this, we realized that there's a huge problem. So when we went to colleges and we asked them, okay, what is that you are looking for? So everybody was looking for a fee management system or an application form management system, something that can give them ROI. So since we were engineers, we ended up building a ERP solution, right? But with that also we realized with time, every college wanted a different solution, right? So we ended up becoming a service company slowly, right? And subscription is one model that we wanted to work with, but not everybody understood subscription at that time, right? So people were used to buying softwares from CDs, and this is back in 2009, 2010, right? So we came to the conclusion. First, one thing is that we shut down that company, and like there are a few things that we learned. One is that we wanted to be in education, right? We were very passionate about education. Whatever we were, it was because of education, and we wanted that every kid in the world should have this opportunity. So education was very important for us. The second thing was high quality content was missing. So it did not make sense to create a platform until we have this high quality content. And the third thing was India at that time was not ready for technology in education, right? So with these things in mind, we started researching other markets. So 2010, iPads were just launched in US, and when we saw kids playing with the devices, we realized that it is going to be the go-to learning device for the learning device for the education for the future. Kids for the first time were engaged at multi-sensory level, and they were a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old was flipping photos, a 5-year-old was going to YouTube and searching for videos. So we realized that this is one device which could actually change education, and we should build content for that. We already had a lot of content in mind that we could build, but this time we did not repeat the mistake. This time we wanted to ensure that we first go to the market and we see what are parents willing to pay for, right? If they're not willing to pay for it, it does not make sense to make it, because we thought of a lot of science apps that we can build, a lot of physics apps that we could build, but what is the sense of making if nobody is going to pay for it? So we made a trip to US. We knew that the coaching market was big. It was more than a $20 billion industry. Even after 8 hours of schooling, parents were sending their kids to coaching, and it did not make sense. Why is that needed? So we went and sat in front of coaching institutes, and we talked to hundreds of parents. We sat from the morning 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. and talk to them. What is the reason that you are sending your kid to the coaching? Why is it needed at all? Then went to schools. We talked to a lot of teachers. What is the problem? Why is it that students are not able to learn? We realized with respect to, so one big thing, science nobody cared about, especially in elementary school education. The two things that they care about was math and English, right? So for math, the biggest problem was math anxiety. We have been talking about math anxiety today as well. So math anxiety is something which starts developing in the kids at very early ages, and the reason for that is mostly the teachers are teaching to test, and the learning in the classroom is not personalized to each and every student. We took a sample of a fourth grade class, and more than 60% students in that fourth grade class were below that grade level. And teacher has to finish the curriculum, so she was not able to focus on each and every student. Now these 60% students, there is no way that they can actually get better if they are not given personalized education, and they would keep on math anxiety will only increase with time. So we realized that, okay, this is what we have to solve for. We went back in next 3-4 months, we created Splash Math, the first version for grade 3. We launched it on the App Store. At the same time, the US administration, the Obama administration launched Common Core curriculum, which was like single curriculum for all the states. Almost 45 states adopted it at that time. We were the first one to launch a Common Core aligned math app on the App Store. This got a huge traction amongst teachers. So one important thing that we realized is that we have to ride the wave. It helps to be early in the market with whatever trend is catching up. Now the next big problem, we've launched a product, but how do we scale it from India? We did not have millions of dollars in the bank. We only raised $100,000 in funding up till now. So getting to the 1 million users. So the best thing was, how do we figure out where do parents and teachers hang out? So we made a list of all the possible online forums where parents and teachers go, whether it is Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Google groups, anywhere. And we reached out to them to use our program. Thankfully for us, teachers really liked the program. Teachers really liked the fact that it was aligned to the Common Core. Teachers really liked the fact that students actually used to like it. So teachers became our evangelists. They started talking to us about us to other teachers. They started referring us to parents. They started talking about us in conferences. Right? So that helped us grow our initial users a lot. Another thing that we did was, most of our app was only available on App Store, iOS App Store at that time. So we figured out ways to how to hack App Store, like for the lack of a better word. How do we ensure that for the keywords like grade 1 math, addition, subtraction, for all those keywords, we come as a, if in the top 5 results, we have to be there. Right? So we hacked the App Store, and even today, if you go on US App Store, if you search for any keyword, grade 1 math, grade 2 math, grade 3 math, addition, out of top 5 apps, 6 apps will be Splash Math apps. So we reached our 1 million users in 2 years. It took us, then we launched for kindergarten to grade 5. It took us next 3 years to reach 10 million users. But that's when, so after 5 years, we hit the plateau. Everything was going good, but then we realized that our growth has slowed down. And the few reasons were, iPads did not grow globally as a device as we were thinking. They grew in US, but they did not grow globally. We launched on Android, but Android, people did not think of Android as an education device. So even in the case of iOS, our apps were primarily used on iPads and not on iPhones. So we launched on Google, we launched on Android. Google promoted us in Google Play for Education, and even then it did not work. We were only charging $10 for the whole content. And if we compare it with paper worksheets, parents were paying around $100 for a limited set of content, and we had unlimited content which was personalized to each and every kid, and it was much more fun and engaging. They were paying around $400 per year for coaching, which were asking the kids to do the same worksheets again and again. And one of the most important thing that we realized was the learning and the business. We were a learning company. We were passionate about changing learning. The learning and the business model did not go hand in hand, because once you have sold a $10 app to the parent, there was no business incentive for us to engage them again on a month-on-month basis. Right? So we wanted to fix all of these problems. To fix all of these problems, we planned to launch subscription, but there was a challenge. Even at $10, we were one of the priciest app on the App Store. Right? Nobody, everybody advised us against launching a $10 app. So a subscription was like it was kind of impossible to make it work on App Store. There was no subscription apps on the App Store at that time. The only subscription apps were probably magazine apps. So, but we looked at our engagement numbers, we looked at our retention numbers, and we saw that it was very high. And we believe that with the kind of learning outcomes that we are providing, kind of engagement that we are providing, it is going to work. So we did two things. We launched on web, and we began with a small test on iOS. And as we believed, as we initially believed, subscription actually worked for us. So from $10 lifetime, we became a $10 per month app. And from then, and since last 2 years, it's been 2 years since we launched subscription, we have grown 10x in revenue. Now that was about the business. Here's some efficacy studies that we did to see whether we are actually imparting good learning to the kids. It was done by a third party, and we realized that 85% of the students, they develop stronger problem-solving skills after they have used Splash Math, which meant that we are actually preparing them for tomorrow, because problem solving is one of the most important skill. More than 77% of the students had improved attitudes towards learning, right? So that was math anxiety being solved. In fact, we received a lot of emails from the parents where they would say that my kids now come back from the school and they ask us to play Splash Math, right? So we have changed the vocabulary from practice to play, which we believe is a huge change. More than 3 billion problems have been answered on Splash Math till date. On an average, every student answers 400 problems every month. 25% of their screen time is spent on Splash Math, and our target is to make it reach 100%. Here are some of the photos from kids in classrooms around the world. Yep, that's it. Any questions?
About going to the market and figuring out what the problem was, initially when you guys were starting, you talked about ad hoc methods like going out and speaking to parents and teachers, but once you guys were already in to sort of change from like a $10 lifetime model to $10 per month model, I just want to sort of know how were the statistics collected and how were the analysis done so that you guys got like a enough confidence that we can convert to this model?
So the first thing was that how many of them are coming back on a month-to-month basis and using us, and then we benchmarked it with the best of the apps on the App Store. Like our apps are not as our numbers were not as comparable, but were not too less either, right? So we realized that this is something that can work, and also just to ensure that this experiment works, we launched it for 5% of the users initially, right? Once it worked, then we launched it for everyone.
Kind of beyond just scaling this, right? What's your other aspiration?
So we are right now just doing math, right? So our idea is we want to become, for K-12, we want to become the go-to learning solution, right? So math, English, coding, financial literacy is something which is very close to my heart. This is something which is not taught in schools, but it is something which is very important in our daily life. Like even if you look at like graduates from here in universities, people don't know basics about compounding and loans or like even equities, right? So financial literacy is something which has to be taught from the very early childhood. So the idea is that if we have to prepare kids for the future, it has to start from the kindergarten level. And we are going to build content for both, which is core and which is non-core. Core is something which we already have. There's a pull in the market, so it's already working for us. Now we're going to add non-core content to, like, since we already have the audience, to push it now.
I believe, yeah.